Welcome back. Thom Hartmann and Congressman Mark Pocan here with you. Congressman taking your calls. And Bob in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to bring something up that's very dear to my heart and I think very important right now in our part of the country here in northeastern Oklahoma. Congressman, we have sensitive area. We have clear streams. We have good water. Lots of trees. This is where the Cherokee Nation is now located. In Arkansas, there's streams that run over our border. The Illinois River is a scenic river here. It's a water supply. Now we're hearing some rumors of radioactive wastewater being dumped into our watershed over in Arkansas. And it has to do with the nuclear industry over there and this little calibration station that's been rendered mute and extinct for quite a while. It sits over there in the hills and just deteriorates. And I'm real concerned that there's situations like this all over the country where the nuclear industry is just dribbling away their pollution into what clean water is left in this country. Concerns me very deeply. I've been an environmentalist all my life.
Okay, Bob, let's let the congressman speak to this. I think
right on.
Okay. Congressman?
Yeah, Bob, I think your concern is especially valid around water, but I would argue air and other things as well, and points to the problems that the Trump administration and the Republicans are putting forward by trying to cut the Environmental Protection Agency. Many programs completely, the agency overall, 31% was proposed under the president's skinny budget. Shows that they don't have any concern for environmental concerns, and you could still, even if you're a Republican, balance industry and environmental concerns like we often have in this country, and yet there seems to be a complete imbalance towards just taking away all the regulation. And yeah, you're right. I mean, water is one of those resources that is extremely valuable. We've got to do everything we can to protect it. So my concern, I guess, Bob, is let's do all we can to fight these cuts to the EPA and other agencies that are helping us to make sure we have clean air and water.
Kevin in Santa Fe, New Mexico, listening on KTRC. You are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Thank you. I hope my sound is good. My phone's been giving a little bit of trouble. But
sounds fine, Kevin. Go for it.
Congressman Pocan, do you find Indivisible helpful? And have you felt we've contributed, whether it's locally or nationally, to some of the victories opposing Mr. Trump's 100 days? And also, if you would please, respectfully, I was wondering, is there any update on the investigation into interstate voter cross-check? Not to beat any dead horses, but just because no news comes out and we don't hear anything, and I don't want to have a short attention span.
Sure, Kevin. Let me take that second part first, because one of the things we've actually been doing is we're drafting a bill specifically to get at that, to have very high standards before you can take someone off a list. It's always been a part of the overall breadth of issues that we put out there around voting, but we're going to have something very specific addressing to that, I would guess, probably sometime in May coming out, and we'll make sure all the listeners know about that. To the broader question, Kevin, you're having tremendous victories. When I go around Wisconsin for the last 2 weeks when I was back home, this was my message: keep it up. We keep track of the calls, and we're having enormous amount of people reaching out to us. Victories from day one of Congress. They were going to gut ethics laws for members of Congress. You all found out, called up, they withdrew the rule. They nominated Andy Puzder to be the Secretary of Labor, a guy who's one of the bigger violators of labor law in the country, and thought robots are better than people as employees. You all got mad, called, they had to pull the nomination. Jason Chaffetz was going to put a bill out there selling 2.5 million acres of public land. You all called your representatives. They actually asked him not to even introduce the bill, and he agreed to pull it back. And then most recently on Trump Care, while the Tea Party took credit for it, because they're always desperate to take credit for things, there was an equal balance of people who have swing Republican districts where Hillary Clinton won 23 of those districts that have a Republican member and about 10 moderates. That's where you had the impact. They couldn't pass anything that made the health care worse because of it. So you're having tremendous impacts. We just got to keep it up and then double down with those groups that are working on issues that you think are most in jeopardy. Keep it up. We're having a lot of success. There's a reason why this first 100 days has been a dismal failure. It's not just that Trump's inexperienced, surrounded by inexperienced people. It's that you're all very, very active, and that's been our strongest force, without question.
Bruce in Days Creek, Oregon. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Yes, Congressman, is there any chance of setting up a rural electrification project for the internet for people in the rural areas like myself?
I'll tell you, Bruce, my office around here gets tired of, I think, me talking about rural broadband because I'm a little obsessed on this. My district outside of Madison's, about a third of it, is extremely rural, and I live in a town of between 800 and 900 people that kids across the street can't even do their homework because they don't have broadband. And I've got a governor who gave away $23 million when he first got elected of federal money that would have expanded it. So I started a rural broadband caucus. It's actually a bipartisan caucus. We've got 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats as chairs. But more importantly, when the Progressive Caucus budget comes out, we've got about a $100 million investment recommended for broadband. I've introduced a bill along with Rick Nolan from Minnesota and Jared Huffman from California to vastly expand how we're addressing rural broadband. I actually think this may be one of those areas, Bruce, that there's bipartisan growth and agreement because so many people are affected. It's like having electricity or water, right, these days to have good broadband, and we don't in too many areas because, quite honestly, a lot of companies are really greedy and will only expand it if they can get free money from the government. But, we got to address this, and maybe we need to regulate it just like a utility might be the best solution.
Ian in Middleton, Wisconsin. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, my name is Ian Garcia, and I had a question a little bit about healthcare. So the U.S. has run a healthcare system for decades for the veterans through the VA, and it's got some serious problems on its own. How am I supposed to expect you guys to set up a bigger healthcare system for everybody when you guys can't even figure out just for the veterans?
Yeah. So, Ian, first of all, coming from Middleton, you probably know that the VA hospital in Madison is one of the best in the country. And most of the VA system throughout the country has run extremely well. We had some problems in Arizona. In Wisconsin and Toma, we had some overprescription of opiates, which has completely been taken care of. And now they're leading in the nation in this area. But by and large, the VA has been a very well-run facility. In fact, my Tea Party uncle in Colorado at weddings will go over the whole list of things he has a problem with the federal government. At the very end, he ends with, "But leave my VA alone." So I think that actually shows you can do things a lot better. And if you had a single-payer system or a Medicare for all system, you could take away all the other inefficiencies that are in the system, the profit that's in the system, and a lot of things to have a much more fair something in place for healthcare that really would give it to all. So I think I just disagree with your comments on the VA. Even in our own backyard in Wisconsin, we've got one of the best in the country.
Jeff in Houston, Texas. Hey, Jeff, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Yeah.
Jeff?
Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you. I mean, I can hear you. It sounds like you're 100 miles away. If you're on a speakerphone or something, can you take it off?
Hold on a second. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, I was asking, I guess my question was more about the ACA and all that. And I guess and about trying to keep that or trying to get that to single payer or something like that. Or is that just totally off topic for what we're doing?
No, Jeff, that's fine. I mean, I'll tell you, one of the big advantages of this debate on healthcare is, what would be the best system? And if you really want to increase access and make healthcare more affordable, I would argue, as well as I think Tom and a lot of others, a single-payer system would be the alternative. I think right now, though, given the reality of Republicans in charge of the House and the Senate and the White House, and they're trying to gut healthcare, we're going to look at the Affordable Care Act, make the improvements we need to. That's what I think we're recommending right now in some very concrete ways. But I think it's important to show, with all this debate about the problems that do exist, if you had a single-payer system, you could certainly provide a lot of efficiencies and provide better, more comprehensive care, probably in the long run for less. And I think that's a part of this debate. So I'm very happy that we're having it, and it is coming out of this conversation.
And for those uninformed people like Ian who called earlier, there's a difference between the VA and single-payer. The VA is basically socialized medicine like they have in the United Kingdom, where the government owns the hospitals and hires the doctors, whereas single payer is where it's like Medicare. It's where the government simply replaces the health insurance companies who are, in my opinion, nothing but leeches on all of our backs. Is that an accurate description? Not the leech part, but everything else.
Gotcha, Tom. Well, I think Ian was probably arguing against all of the above, but I think that the VA system is in general very well run system, and a single payer would allow you to do exactly what you said. No matter what, we have options that take us outside of this current system that right now we're clearly having debates about.
Yeah, amen. Congressman Mark Pocan is with us, taking your calls for the hour. We'll be back with more of your calls for Congressman Pocan in just a moment. Stick around, and we will be right back.